Yeah, we start a little bit later. Notoriously, always a slow walk in. First, welcome everyone. Welcome everyone here in the room, and welcome everyone online. You're at the 2025 May Gathering in Ojai. And for those who are on the stream, this is we're at the Oak Grove School, the Oak Grove School campus. According to it's raining, and according to some Indian friends, it means that it's auspicious day. For us, it's a cold day. So there are many things we would like to do today and tomorrow. We're here together for 2 days. We have a program that is mixed, and programs that things are happening at the same time. There are some talks in this room, there are dialogues in other spaces, and there's lots of space for informal connection and informal talk. It's a true joy to see so many familiar faces again. And am I doing right with the microphone? Yeah, good. And maybe also to say that this is not necessarily an information gathering. It's not a gathering where to get more information about things, although that is also happening. But we're also just hoping that, first of all, you find friends and other people who have a similar interest in the kind of questions that Krishnamurti was referring to. And questions about life, questions about the meaning of life, or the questions about what is life, besides the more superficial, mundane, day-to-day living. And I guess I can more or less speak that we are coming together because there's a shared interest in exploring and a shared interest in sharing, understanding. And I would really want to contribute to an atmosphere where any kind of questioning is possible, where we are rigorous in our questioning, and where we are willing to look at different perspectives, which unfortunately is very uncommon in today's society. And that's not only in the United States, where hyperpolarization has become so prominent, but that's worldwide now, that we're all wanting to fit into a camp, and then we talk from the camp, and the first thing we try to determine, which camp are you in, and then I'm in favor of you or I'm against you. So is it possible to leave those camps behind, get out of the camp for 2 days, hopefully longer, and to meet people as people, and to see people as people, and to have a willingness to see the humanness in each other. The theme is on silence, and silence, of course, is not the absence of noise, and that's really chosen from the perspective of Krishnamurti's work, that silence is not the absence of noise, nor was he saying that the silence is the interval between two thoughts, right? You might for a moment be quiet because you're not focusing or whatever, that's also not. But he said there's something about silence where the mind is not active, where there's the possibility for something else to come into place. And then we don't refer to some kind of religious or mystical experience, but more that the brain has the capability of its own rhythm and its own movement, as Krishnamurti refers to, and that for that to happen, space is required. Silence, a direct quote from him, "Silence is difficult and arduous. It's not to be played with. It demands intense psychological work. You have to be burningly aware of your speech, aware of your fears, your anxieties. And when you die to all that, then out of that dying comes the beauty of silence." And I hope we can keep that central. This is a quote from the Collected Works, volume 13. And of course, I'm not asking you to be silent during these 2 days. I hope the contrary, that you interact, that you engage, that you think, that you ponder. And yes, and I want to make a bridge to some of the programming. As I said, we have several programs, and there's this lovely booklet that you can find at the reception, which tells you everything about speakers, about the programs, their background, and all that. Just looking at time to make sure. Yeah. So the bridge that I want to make is, especially in the morning, but also later during the coming 2 days, we will more or less put central the work that Krishnamurti did with David Bohm. For those of you who are unfamiliar with that, David Bohm had many discussions with Krishnamurti on the nature of life and the nature of consciousness. Most well-known book is The Ending of Time. There's also another book called Truth and Actuality that reflects these discussions. And I think of David Bohm, we can maybe most directly say that he influenced how Krishnamurti was formulating his teachings. There's specifically a set of discussions where David Bohm, in his way, started to give feedback or pushed back on some of the things that Krishnamurti was saying about the nature of the brain and the nature of the mind. And Krishnamurti, before that, would use these words interchangeably. Sometimes it was a brain, and sometimes it's the mind, and he really meant sometimes distinctly different things. And after the discussions with Bohm, he started to be much more articulate and specific about the distinction between brain and mind, and brain as the what you could say the housing of thought, the memory, the response of memory, and the mind something that's not necessarily in the brain, but contains the brain and has a wider capacity. Now again, I think we should be careful not to fall into the notion of some kind of religious connotation here, because I think that would just limit it. But that there are different capacities for our brain, and that there has a relationship. What was pointed to when the word mind was used is something fascinating to explore, and I hope in the coming 2 days we are going to explore that. And today we have, in the morning, we open with somebody who's going to talk about the work that Bohm was doing, and inevitably what Kay was doing. It's going to be more scientific. In the afternoon, we have 2 talks. Unfortunately, one of the speakers who just published a nice book, Connie Jones, got very ill. She called us last minute. So there's a different speaker there, which is myself, and it's not listed in the program. And then later on, I think it will be David Moody that will be speaking. Let me just keep it so that I'm not telling you wrong information. David Moody, and he has the title, What Does It Mean to Live the Teachings? That will be at 3:30 p.m. And then tomorrow we'll do tomorrow. But at the same time, just for you to know that if you're interested in dialogues, and many of you are, you have to sign up for dialogues at the reception, and they are in different spaces distributed over the campus. And in the gazebo, and ask the reception where the gazebo is, or ask for a little map, because it's quite if you're new to the campus, it's quite a labyrinth. There is a Roxa box and workshop with Bridget Madsen. And at 3:30 also in the English classroom, which I believe is here, there's a poetry and Krishnamurti workshop with Karen Hasley. For lunch, which will be at 12:15, that will be in the main house. Just follow the crowd if you don't know where that is. the lunch, you need to get a little ticket. So don't queue up and then, because then you find out that you have to buy a ticket and you have to go at the end of the queue again. So make sure you get a ticket. Yes, I think so. Another change in the program, which is unfortunate, the pianist that we had originally scheduled, Carolina, who has been with us for many years, she had a concussion, a serious concussion, and she couldn't play. But fortunately, last week, we had a friend of ours, friend of the foundation, for almost a year, who I met at Beijing when we had gatherings there, and his name is Koik. The full Chinese is different, name is different, and I will read it out properly. Zikuan Zhao, and he was able to make it from after, I'm just being notified last weekend to play here. And that's marvelous. And we have, he will play now for 10 minutes to set the atmosphere. And I feel it's really important to have some kind of, to create some kind of spaciousness in the room. And I feel music, especially classical music, really helps to that. So he plays 10 minutes now, and he will play half an hour this afternoon at, I believe it's 3:30, but look in the program to get that clarified. Now, Zoik has a long list of accomplishments already, and he's not that old. He studied in Beijing in music, and at the moment he studied or just finished in New York, but lives in China. And so I'm going to ask him to come to the piano, and he will introduce the pieces himself. Thank you.
So the first piece I'm going to play is Chopin's Waltz. It's very short, but it's very pretty.
So I'd like to introduce the first speaker, Paavo. His surname is Pilikanen. Yeah, it's funny because I'm aware of Paavo's work for many, many years, and I was always curious if he wanted to come over because of his work on consciousness and his interest in consciousness. And especially when I started to get interested in the topic of consciousness, because I don't know how you read Krishnamurti's work, I skipped certain words. Consciousness didn't do anything for me, so for the longest time I didn't pay attention to it. But 15 years, 20 years ago, I started to read up more and more and trying to understand, and I have made some progress, but not much progress on that, particularly what is consciousness. But nevertheless, I'm very curious to hear what Paavo has to say on it. Now, Paavo is a director of a bachelor's program in philosophy and senior lecturer at the theoretical philosophy at the University of Helsinki in Finland. And there's a lot of more that he has done, which I think is all written in the booklet, which I think is too long and will distract, I think. But and if he wants to add something, he can do that. But I think one of the big reasons why I would really like to hear him, he got interested very early on, I think in 79, in Krishnamurti's work. And he started studying in Brockwood, worked with Bohm, and I think he had many discussions with Bohm and also with Krishnamurti present. So I'm just very curious to see how that has inspired his work, how it is reflected in his work, and clearly it somehow inspired him to still work on Bohm with Bohm's teachings, so with Bohm's work. So I give the platform to Paavo. Thank you.
Getting okay sound, yeah?